A few weeks ago, our 90s race and culture expert, Dr. Rosemarie Allen, joined us for a very important conversation about why talking about race can feel so difficult and how to do it the right way. She's joining us again this morning to continue that discussion. Dr. Allen, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So for those who missed it, I did a few weeks ago. Yes. I was out that day. Bring us up to speed on that conversation.
Well, we talked about the reluctance and the fear about talking about race. We weren't taught to talk about it. So what happens, we avoid it, and then people have a tendency to say, well, I just don't see race. I'm colorblind. And what that does, it actually promotes more fear, and it can be very, very offensive to people of color.
Okay. And it's important to have these difficult conversations, even if you're feeling uncomfortable, to lean into it and to really learn. I think, you know, a fear that a lot of maybe white people may have is we don't want to cause more harm.
Yes.
So, Dr. Rosemarie, how would you recommend that we begin these conversations without contributing to more harm?
First, know that you don't have to be perfect, and you approach the conversations with humility. Most people are very willing to talk about themselves, but you also have to know that you're going to make mistakes. All of us are going to make mistakes. But when we approach these conversations out of curiosity, you really want to know more. You can even say, I really have a question, but I don't want to offend. And most people will say, ask, because you're acknowledging that. The key is not to depend on people of color to teach you. So you really want to do some reading, but sometimes the reading can actually provoke more questions. So come prepared. I read about this. Can you tell me more? And I think that's going to make the difference in terms of how you approach it.
Is it part of it too is finding that person who you feel is like your safe space? Like I feel like I can always ask you anything without judgment because it comes from a place that I, from my heart, and I truly want to know. Is that part of it too?
Corey, I tell people all the time, find people from different races and religions and cultures that you trust to ask questions. I have a girlfriend, when she calls me, she goes, Rosemarie, black girl question. And I call her and say, white girl question. One of my questions was, why are so many white children, why do so many have blonde hair? And then they dye it. She goes, oh, they don't dye it, it changes. Like, by itself?
Yeah.
I didn't know, but we were able to have that conversation.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And just to be able to model it in front of other people too. You know, I want to be able to provide that for my children. I want them to feel like that they can learn and obviously find like a safe space to learn. So you say something, and I think this is really powerful. It is the phrase, safe doesn't mean easy. What do you want people to take away from that?
I want them to know that this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you talk about race and difference and culture and lived experiences, it can be uncomfortable. Even in a safe space, it may not be easy. I've been doing this for decades. I just conducted a workshop with the indigenous folks, and the sponsor called and said, you have a picture that's inappropriate, I'm gonna swap it out. That wasn't easy. I was embarrassed, but I was so thankful for the conversation. So she felt safe, and I created a safe space, but it wasn't easy hearing that I made a mistake and perhaps even offended. So mistakes are normal in this journey. Discomfort is normal, but as long as we're approaching with humility, with curiosity, I think we want to create a space so that everyone feels valued, seen, and appreciated, and that's where we start.
Let's say someone had an experience that wasn't great, like they asked a question and it really came from a place of, just wanting some answers, right? But it didn't go over well. What would you say? You say try again?
Oh, absolutely, try again.
Yeah.
Everyone, like I said, are in different spaces, and sometimes you can catch a person of color who had been microaggressed all week, and you ask something and it feels offensive and they snap at you. Just understand that that's a moment in time, that for the most part, people are really receptive to questions. And if you start with that safe friend, the people that you can ask anything of, then that kind of gives you a sense of, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Things happen, so yeah, try again. Don't give up, because when we give up, we shut out.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, we do not want that.
We don't.
Dr. Rosemarie Allen, thank you.
Great
Thank you
advice.
so much.
Thank you.